The long-awaited and much-rumoured OnePlus Open is finally here, and as I noted in my review, it's a killer foldable phone. It boasts a solid camera, great performance, and stunning screens. But while foldable phones are still in their infancy, the device does go up against some serious competition, and there's perhaps no bigger competition than the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5. It makes sense that Samsung would pose such a challenge. I mean, just look at the 5 at the end of that name. Samsung is on its 5th generation of foldable phones, and it has had some serious time to refine. So, how does the 1st generation OnePlus Open compare with the 5th generation Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5? Well, it turns out pretty good. Here's what you need to know. If this video is helpful to you, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps support my work and I would appreciate that support. The design of foldable phones has a big impact on how you use them, and the design of these two phones is a little different. First, the basics. The OnePlus Open is slightly thinner than the Galaxy Z Fold 5, unless you add in the mammoth camera module on the back that increases the thickness to more than the Galaxy device. Speaking of camera module, that on the OnePlus device is big and round, while the one on the Z Fold 5 is vertically aligned and more understated. The frame on both devices is glossy, both have a USB-C port on the bottom, and both have a side-mounted fingerprint sensor with volume controls. The OnePlus Open, however, adds the ringer switch, which I love. Sure, I prefer a programmable button like the action button on the new iPhone 15 Pro, but a ringer switch is definitely better than nothing. Of course, something that you'll use every day on a foldable phone is the hinge, and I find that the hinge on the Galaxy Z Fold 5 is slightly more refined than that on the OnePlus Open. It's not a huge difference, but as you open up the OnePlus Open, you'll find that there's a little extra give, especially towards the fully open position. For the most part, they both feel relatively durable though. But the real difference in design comes down to the shape of the devices. The OnePlus Open, as you might be able to tell, is wider than the Galaxy Z Fold 5, and that makes a big difference. With the wider build, the OnePlus Open has a much more usable front display, which I ended up using for most basic tasks, like browsing social media, texting, calling, and so on. And it results in a larger interior screen too, which makes tasks like watching videos and playing games even more enjoyable. I really do think that the Open strikes a perfect balance in width, similar to the Honor Magic V2. I'll be comparing the Open with the Magic V2 in an upcoming video, so stay tuned for that. Considering the extra width, I prefer the design of the OnePlus Open, so it gets the win in this category. Speaking of display sizes, they're a little different between these two phones. On the outside of the Galaxy Z Fold 5, there's a 6.2-inch AMOLED display with a 120Hz refresh rate and a 906 by 2316 resolution. The OnePlus Open's cover screen, on the other hand, is a larger 6.31-inch display with a similar 2484 by 1116 resolution and up to 120Hz refresh rate. They're similar displays in most ways, except brightness, where the OnePlus Open has a clear advantage. It can reach a peak brightness of 2800 nits, and you can tell the difference between the two when they're side by side. For the most part, both displays get bright enough for most use though, including outdoor use. The interior displays, of course, are perhaps slightly more important. On the Galaxy Z Fold 5, you'll get a 7.6-inch display with an 1812 by 2176 pixel resolution and a 120Hz refresh rate. It looks great. The inside screen on the OnePlus Open is, again, larger at 7.82 inches, with a higher resolution of 2268 by 2440. It also gets to 120Hz in refresh rate, and again, it's brighter, at a peak brightness of 2800 nits. Really, both of these phones have premium display experiences, and you'll be perfectly happy with the displays on both. The extra brightness on the OnePlus Open can come in handy, but it's probably not the sole reason you would buy the Open over the Galaxy Z Fold 5. Still, it gets the OnePlus the win in this category. Moving on to performance under the hood, and both phones have a lot going for them. The Galaxy Z Fold 5 and the OnePlus Open both offer a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor. However, while the Galaxy Z Fold 5 has 12GB of RAM, the OnePlus Open steps that up to 16GB. That's coupled with 512GB of storage in the Open, or an option of 256, 512, or 1TB in the Galaxy Z Fold 5. Both phones perform incredibly well. Both devices were easily able to handle heavy multitasking and mobile gaming, and they're really both among the best performing phones out there. I really noticed no difference in how the phones perform in day-to-day life, but since the OnePlus Open has a little bit extra RAM, it gets the win in the performance category. Next up is camera quality. Both phones have a triple camera array on the back. The Samsung device offers a 50-megapixel main camera, 10-megapixel telephoto camera with 3x optical zoom, and 12-megapixel ultrawide camera with a 123 degrees field of view. On the OnePlus Open, you'll get a 48-megapixel main camera, a 64-megapixel telephoto camera with 3x optical zoom and 6x lossless zoom, and a 48-megapixel ultrawide camera with a 114 degrees field of view. Both phones are able to capture vibrant and bright images with excellent detail. Generally, I found that the Galaxy Z Fold 5 offered slightly more realistic colors colors. However, I really like the slightly yellow vibe of the OnePlus Open. The OnePlus Open's extra trick of being able to capture images at 6x zoom without any loss in detail is handy too. It does this by zooming to 3x optically and then cropping the sensor, which results in no digital zoom. This makes the camera on the Open that extra bit more versatile than the camera on the Galaxy Z Fold 5. Both phones have two front-facing cameras. However, while the 10-megapixel front-facing camera on the cover screen of the Galaxy Z Fold 5 is fine, the 4-megapixel front-facing camera behind the interior screen isn't great, despite the fact that it's cool that it's hidden behind the display. Both of the front-facing cameras on the OnePlus Open are better, with the cover screens being 32 megapixels and the interior one being 20 megapixels. Because of the more versatile rear-facing cameras and the higher quality front-facing cameras, the OnePlus Open gets the win in the camera section. Then there's the battery, and generally it's another area where I found both phones to perform relatively well. The OnePlus Open has a 4805 mAh battery, while the Galaxy Z Fold 5 has a 4400 mAh battery. While the battery in the OnePlus Open is larger, however, I found that both were able to get me through a full day of moderate use, and I suspect most will have a similar experience. In my battery test, the OnePlus Open did perform a little better, however, it will vary quite a bit in real-world use. The charging experience is a little different though. Both phones, obviously, support wired charging through the USB-C port. However, while the Galaxy Z Fold 5 charges at 25 watts, the OnePlus Open charges at a hefty 67 watts, which is much faster. That said, the OnePlus Open doesn't offer a feature that it really should in 2023. Wireless charging, which the Galaxy Z Fold 5 does support. In 2023, there is no excuse for the lack of wireless charging. It's worth considering how often you use wireless charging in your purchase decision. But for the purpose of this comparison, because the Galaxy Z Fold 5 supports wireless charging, but the OnePlus Open supports wired charging at a much faster rate, this one's a tie. The software experience between these phones is a little different, though they both offer some great features to help you multitask better. Both devices offer a menu bar at the bottom that allows you to quickly jump between apps, and it really comes in handy when multitasking. As you would expect, both have split screen views, and they both also allow access to a third app, further splitting the screen on the Samsung device. I really like OnePlus's approach to this though. It tucks the third app away for quick access as you need it. It's a cool feature. The interior display home screen of the OnePlus Open is essentially just two home screens from the exterior display, which I quite like. This is the approach I prefer. That said, not everyone is the same, and on the Samsung phone, you can choose to have totally independent home screens, which is a nice option. Again, not one that I personally would use though. I have never been a huge fan of Samsung's One UI, with all those extra Samsung apps and Samsung's design aesthetic. I definitely prefer OnePlus's approach to design, though I prefer the Pixel Fold to any of them. Still, different people have different preferences, and that's why the software section is a tie. And there you have it. Both phones have a solid software experience and a decent battery. However, the OnePlus Open is kind of the clear winner. It has a more versatile form factor and camera, brighter displays, and a little more RAM, making it, in my opinion, the better phone overall. Both phones are expensive though. The Galaxy Z Fold 5 starts at $1,800, however the OnePlus Open starts at $1,700, and OnePlus is currently running a promotion that will allow you to trade in any phone of any condition for at least $200 off the phone. So, not only is it better, but it's also cheaper when you buy new. That said, Samsung phones are often available at a discount, so you may be able to find the Galaxy Z Fold 5 for a cheaper price than the OnePlus Open. None of this, of course, is to say that the Galaxy Z Fold 5 is a bad phone. On the contrary, perhaps you prefer Samsung's software approach and don't really care about anything else. In that case, the Galaxy Z Fold 5 is an excellent device and you won't regret buying it. But if you truly do want the better phone, it's the OnePlus Open. You can get both phones for yourself using the links in the description. Thanks again for watching this video. My name is Christian and I'll see you next time. See ya.